Hello, welcome back to Addicted to Recovery, the podcast bringing you the truth about addiction. My name's Christopher White. I'm joined by my dear friend, co-host and fellow recovering addict, Max Thomas. How are you today, mate?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Really well. You had a birthday to celebrate yesterday, didn't you, mate?
Yeah, my beautiful wife turned, she's 40 on the 8th of May. So I just want to wish her a happy birthday. We had a party last night, 40 friends and family, and it was wicked, man.
Nice. I didn't actually get an invite, but...
No, you did when you come around at Dunner Thailand and then your missus is in Manchester.
Okay, that's why. Yeah, no worries. Well, look, that's what's been happening with me this weekend. Oh, by the way, happy birthday to your missus. I'm glad you had a nice time. I've been home alone.
Yeah, nice.
For the past 3 days. It was fun for 2 hours, and then I was just like, where is everybody? And it was just weird. And I had to do washing, that sort of stuff. Anyway, enough about us. We've got a very special guest in the studio today.
We have indeed.
Who's with us, mate?
We've got Nick. He's been around since got clean. He's one of the people who was here from my first meeting, and always looked up to you, mate. And yeah, it's a pleasure to welcome you to the podcast.
Yes, welcome, mate.
How we doing?
I'm very good, thank you. It's good to see Chrissy White and Max Thomas. How fantastic to be here.
Yeah,
really, really good. And happy birthday to your missus
Thanks,
as well.
mate. Thanks.
Nice.
And well done on the golf.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, shot 85 on Saturday.
Oh, you've been working hard then?
Say no more. I've been working hard on my golf swing. Anyway, look, funny enough what you just said about Nick, that he's been around the whole time you've been around.
Yep.
Like, I just want to talk about some appreciation I've got for you, and you were almost like a catalyst that got me into the rooms this time. So obviously we'll get into all this, but I was seeing you in a professional capacity before. Nick's a counsellor. I'm sure we'll get that from Nick later, but I was seeing you, got put onto you by my dad, and I went and sat down with you, and I got really honest, and I was still using at this time. And you said something to me that really give me a kick up the arse. Not a kick up the arse. You just sort of told me something I already knew from a different perspective, and I listened. And you said to me, you was like, you can keep coming to see me if you want, but I don't want to take your money off you. I'll see you in a meeting. That's where the solution is. And I was like, You know what, mate? He's right. That is where the solution is. And it got me...
When was this?
Just before I went to treatment. I started taking it seriously. I remember I come and see you a few days later after the first session, and I hadn't stayed clean. And you was like, look, mate, the solution's in the rooms. You need to get yourself in the rooms. And I said, I think I need to go to treatment. And you put me in touch with the guy in the treatment center I went to. And it all started from then. After I saw you, you just told me some hard truths and some, you put things into perspective for me. And I'll always remember it, mate. And really grateful.
I still find it hard to take compliments. You're worth it, Chris.
Thanks, mate. Right. So I know you've listened to the pod a few times. You sort of know what we're about. We'd like to, and the listeners I'm sure would like to, get a little bit of a background on you, bit of a story. How did you first start using? What sort of depths did you go to? And how did you get clean? So I'd like to put it over to you now, mate, and give us a bit of your story.
Fantastic. So first of all, I must say thank you to you two guys, really, because the podcast has been really good. So one of my sort of like little processes in the morning, I find it hard to sort of like wake up. I'm one of these people, I could say addicts, that I find it hard to wake up. I'm very negative in the morning, and I do a little drive 3 days a week, and it takes about sort of an hour, roughly an hour. And I've been using the podcast.
Oh, nice.
And I think it's brilliant. I've listened to every single one.
Wicked, thanks, mate.
And I think they're all good. Every single podcast I've heard is good, especially the steps. When you're talking about steps. So well done, you guys. And where to start?
Take your time, mate.
It's strange, isn't it? Because of like years and years and years now, you know, I'm starting to feel a bit old, but for years of trying to get this stuff one day at a time, I've done so much therapy over the years, and I've done so much step work, and I've seen so many psychiatrists and therapists, etc., etc. It's like, you know, I don't know. It's still hard to think back. I don't know about you guys, but like looking back at stuff, it still touches me. You know, my emotions start to flow. But
my memory's blown to bits. I don't know about you boys. My brother was talking to me recently, I don't know when it was, a couple of days ago, about my last use up when my family were out looking for me. And I don't have much recollection of that event. The whole, I was missing for about 24, 48 hours towards the end, Nick, just to go over your point. And yeah, he sort of like pieced together, because I don't know, my memory's just been blasted, I think, by using. It really has. Like,
yeah, well, what is it? The families of the addicts always remember more. Like, you got the Bill Wilson, it's like, as Bill sees it, and then Lois's book, his wife is Lois Remembers.
Yeah.
So
Ask an
they
Alan
know.
on, they'll tell you the truth, right? So you'd probably be better having sort of like, I don't know, like people that are closest to me doing this pod. And,
Yeah, what was he really like?
no, I bet my missus remembers that. Well, she does. She
Yeah,
knows
well,
she-
funny enough, there's a question in the step working guide, and it's talks about assets, and it was like, if you want to know what you're like, go and ask the person that's closest to you.
Yeah.
When it comes to the assets part, I really struggled, not so much anymore, but in the beginning, it was like, I struggled to look at myself in a positive light. So I said to my missus, like, what's good about me? And she told me a few things, and I was like, all right, yeah, I can see that. You know what I mean? But for me, like, I couldn't get my head around it. So yeah, definitely going to other people, you're going to get the truth if they're honest. So anyway, look, we cut you off a little bit there. Nick.
No, it's cool. So, and also, what I'm sort of like, I'm still learning. Obviously, this is all the sort of like, we're still learning. I can remember one of the first treatment centers I went to. They said in there, sort of like, remember the ING. You know what I mean? You're still learning. You're still recovering, I suppose, is a good one as well. So I'm still learning about this stuff, but what I'm learning about at the moment is I've been diagnosed with ADHD.
Right.
And it ticks a lot of boxes, right, for me since I had this diagnosis. And one thing about an ADHD diagnosis is timelines are absolutely awful.
Right.
So looking back, it's quite hard. Do you know what I mean? It brings stuff up. But anyway, I've got a mate called Grant. You two know him in the fellowship, and we speak a lot. And, we always have this sort of like little joke about ADHD. I say, you're more ADHD than I am. He goes, no, I'm not. We have this like bit of bants between each other. But Grant sort of tells my story when he was a kid. He sort of tells my story, right? When I was a kid, I was incredibly sensitive. And it's weird because I don't know about you guys as well, but when I start sharing that stuff, the old pride starts kicking in. I don't want to say it. No. But I was a real sensitive kid, and I can remember when I was a kid, I was always in like two positions. It was either sort of like nothing was really going on. I felt absolutely nothing, or I felt everything. I was so sensitive. Yeah, so sensitive.
Exactly.
Sensitive. I heard it on the pod. I agree with it. I was dis at ease as a child. I really, really was. I sucked my thumb as a child. I know now that was like a comforting thing. Do you know what I mean? Later on using drugs, it was the same sort of effect with certain drugs that I had. I didn't like going to school. I'd be screaming and shouting to go to school. I did weird things at school. I sat underneath tables. I'd sort of like disappear and jump on the roof at school. I just didn't want to be there.
Off-key
I found things very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. I was very hyper physically. That's kind of disappeared over the years. I mean, my diagnosis is actually ADD. It's attention deficit disorder.
Yeah.
So I've lost the hype of it, as you can see. But I've heard this lots, and it isn't just for addicts or people with ADHD. I was the kid that just stared out the window, and like the teachers' voices were all sort of like in that like Snoopy sort of cartoon, wah, 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 and I weren't listening, and I was out. The fantasy thing. I was in fantasy. I was thinking about like, I don't know, making camps outside of school. This is when I was at like primary school, or playing with my mates, or going football, or just anything but being there in that place. And I think the old psychiatrist said that there's a lot of ODD when I was a kid as well. I think my dad would definitely, it's oppositional defiance disorder. He'd say turn left, I'd turn right. So that's kind of, how I was when I was a kid. Irritable, right? Definitely discontent. anxious. And let's get a bit deeper because let's have it right. I don't know about anxiety too much, fearful, you know, and that 100 forms of fear kind of thing, you know, it's just, I was fearful around everything really.
That was the underlying one for me, the fear when I was a kid. I know, I said at the start, I've got a bad memory around a lot of stuff, but I can remember being scared a lot of the time as a kid.
Feared up.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, mixing in, you know, meeting new friends, you know what I mean? It used to come out sideways. I had quite a temper when I was a kid. I was quite angry. You know, I just didn't know how to deal with my feelings and emotions. You know, it's great looking back in it because you can sort of like think, oh, that's why.
You can unpick it, yeah.
Yeah. I now sort of know, but it's difficult.
We get a chance to do that, don't we?
Yeah, 100%. Absolute privilege. I think it's a real privilege to be able to look back, not to stare. You know, I heard that as well. I've always kept that with me. Don't stare. You know, look, but don't stare. You know, so it's just like looking back gently, looking at it, think and observing and being sort of being intrigued about it. Why did I used to do that? You know, things that we do as adults, and you sort of find yourself doing something and think, why do I do that?
Yeah.
And then you start looking back and thinking,
that was weird.
My dad did that. Sometimes that's like pretty sort of like not good.
I get a lot of that.
Sometimes it's good, right? Sometimes it isn't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
And
sometimes it is good.
Yeah. So, which is quite strange, really, because you know, let me just talk a little bit about, because I've done a lot of thought about this. I'm sure you guys have as well. Nature or nurture, you know, and
what do you think?
my mum and dad ain't addicts.
No.
My dad drank a lot, and I'll say that about my dad. I don't want to talk too much about my parents, right? They're still alive, you know what I mean? But you know, my dad drank a lot, but he worked in the print up in London. And I make up that 99% of all them guys that worked in the print all drunk a lot as well, right? So he drank a lot, but he's not an addict. And nor is my mum. And in fact, as far as I can tell, throughout my whole family, no addicts, apart from my cousin who's out in America. I'll shout him out, actually. Paul, his name is, because he's been sort of a part of me with my journey.
Right.
Shout out, Paul.
Yeah, shout out Paul. North Carolina, Winston-Salem.
Nice golf over there.
Drives NASCARs.
Does he?
Does he?
Yeah, he just built one, actually. Anyway.
Fantastic.
Yeah, me and him, both addicts, both attend meetings, but nobody else in the family. So really about this nature vs nurture thing, you know, it's so interesting, isn't it, when you go to the rooms, because this doesn't discriminate, you know. I think you said it on the pod before, you know, bank managers, you know what I mean, black, white, Chinese, lawyers, film stars, dustbin men, you know, whatever. It just does not matter. And then there's the sort of thing about twins, you know, one being an addict, the other one not being an addict.
Example of that in my life.
Yeah,
I know two twins.
Really?
Yeah, one's toast and the other one's absolutely fine.
Yeah, it's just really strange.
Both lovely blokes, but.
So what do you reckon then? What's your thought?
Well, this is my thoughts on it, right? So, I mean, and this took a long time because I've got an addict mind, and I want to know, Max. Do you know what I mean? Tell me, I want to know.
Yeah.
And you can go down wormholes of this stuff.
Yeah.
And how I sit right here, right now, at 53 years of age, just doesn't matter. I've got it and I need to deal with it, right? It doesn't matter. But I believe, like, you know, a lot of other people, or some people don't believe in this, some people do. I believe I was born with it, end of, and it just got progressively worse over a period of years.
So.
And that's definitely in my thinking, you know, my thought patterns, my behaviours, etc., etc. And that's where I leave it. I know I've got it. I know I've got to live with it, and I know I've got to do something about it. So that's where it goes for me. But there's different schools of thoughts, right? There's the trauma thought, you know what I mean? And, you know, it goes on, then there's a big list. Do you know what I mean? If people say it's because of this, it's because of that. But let's have it right. No one knows.
No.
It's like the Great Pyramids, right? No one knows yet. Maybe one day they'll put a little solenoid into your head and sort of like zap it and people will be all right. But until then.
I think that was a big moment in my recovery when I stopped the quest to find out why. Do you know what I mean? I just thought, like you, Nick, fuck it, I don't care. Do you know what I mean?
Doesn't matter.
This is the hand I've been dealt and I'm dealing with it. Instead of, I don't know. I think it was holding me back, trying to unpick it.
We're trying to find a successful way to keep doing it.
Yeah.
For me, what it is, right, with the nature nurture, I 100% agree, born with it. And like you said, it got progressively worse. For me, I don't think the disease got any worse. I just think my solutions for coping with it got more destructive.
Mm.
I was feeling the same feelings that I was feeling as a child. And instead of, like you said, sucking your thumb, I used to do these weird facial tics, or I would eat, or I would try and collect things to try and give me that fix. When I found drugs, I didn't need to look for anything anymore. I'd found it. And then the effects of them drugs became less and less. So I started taking more and more. And by the end of it, you can't do the amount of drugs I was doing and have a successful, normal life. So my life just imploded. The feelings were the same. It's just my way of dealing with it changed.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. This is why this sort of stuff's really good, right? So we can thrash it out. Do you know what I mean? But I think most importantly, really, is it's the step one stuff, right? I've got to diagnose myself. You know, I've got to accept myself that I've got this illness, and let's have it right. If us three didn't know we had an illness, we can't do anything about it, right? Well, once I know that I've got an illness, then I can do something about it. When I'm in denial, you know. So anyway, I can sort of look back and I know it was there when I was a child. I did some weird things. I had tics. I sort of like used to make weird noises. My dad used to say to me, or my mum used to say, "He's doing it again. He's doing it again." You know, I'd sort of like grunt and things like that. And
Let's go.
That's it. Yeah,
My
that's
mum's literally ringing me now. Just come up on my watch. She'll tell you all the stuff. It's who it is with my neck. To do some really weird stuff, man.
All that kind of gear. So I suppose what happened really, you know, when I was a kid, I was just very, very irritated, and I started to misbehave. Do you know what I mean? I was just, I was a naughty kid. You know, and I was definitely one of them kids who'd be like, dad, 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 you know, sort of like tap, 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 mum, 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 mum.
Yeah, that's Stewie
like, what
Griffin.
do you want now? You know, and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, that's kind of what happened, really. And I don't know, stereotype. I've had loads of addicts saying this. Like, you know, I gravitated to older people. Anything that's sort of like wayward or naughty got me excited. Yeah. If I saw kids smoking in the playground, it's like, what's that? What's going on? You know, the intrigue. You know, it's like it's too much, really.
Where did you get that feeling? Where in your body? You know, when you see that.
Well, it's a pure excitement thing. Yeah. It's like a real childhood trait, right? Do you know what I mean? I think that's probably my first drug was excitement, fantasy and excitement. The excitement, and obviously if you think about excitement, it's like intensified feelings. You can imagine all the chemicals that are going off in your brain. You've got your endorphins, your adrenaline, your serotonin, it's all going off. It's probably the first drug. Yeah. I mean, this is another thing, right? Spikes. It does, you know, this is one that always sort of like intrigues me, and I just think it's funny. But like, so, you know, some literature sort of says that, you know, once you take the first one, it sets off an allergy, phenomenon of craving. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it starts in my head. I mean, once I've had that first one, then it intensifies it, but it starts off in my head. I can remember a lot of times going to score drugs, and I get butterflies in the stomach. I feel electric. You know, I feel sick. Do you know what I mean? I'd get like goose pimples going on and all that sort of thing. You know, so I don't know, but I felt like that when I was a kid, watching those things.
I said I would feel under the influence on the way to get it.
Yeah, 100%.
I had my missus' 40th birthday last night. I'm not smoked in 3 months now, cigarettes, and I've made up in my head that I'm gonna have a few cigarettes because it's a birthday, which is just fucking mental anyway. Like, why does that mean I'm allowed to have cigarettes as a treat?
Because of the day.
But you're talking about that gut feeling, Chris. You're like, as soon as I've made that decision in my head that was happening, then I was just consumed by it. And I just had to go. Mrs. was getting ready upstairs. She went, "Where are you going?" I was like, "I'm going to the shop." I had to go and get the cigarettes, get the lighter. And it was just, I hadn't had that feeling for a long time, that real like sense of compulsion, I suppose, to fucking, the decision had been made.
But it goes back to that stuff about that excitement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're at home, you're like, all right, we know what that feeling's like. You know what I mean? You're about to go out. Back in the using days for me, before it got bad, when it was still fun. And we're going out tonight.
The excitement was the score, right?
buzz. And then like halfway through the day, you're like, it's getting closer.
Mm.
And then you've finished work. You're like, I'm going to have one step closer.
Mm.
Go and sort out my bits. Have a beer while I'm in the shower. Like, it was just a buzz.
The
right?
whole thing.
The whole thing is a buzz. Before I've even put a substance
Before
in me,
you
I'm
even
buzzing.
get to it, yeah. Well, it's strange, isn't it? Right, that's that.
But I know why it's addictive. Because it feels great.
100%.
It feels great. Talk to me at 6 a.m. when I've burnt my life to the ground, made a fucking idiot out of myself. It's not such a great feeling. And I got more of that and less of the good stuff.
The shame attack, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's quite strange, isn't it? Because I kind of know your boy's story, and I know that like one of the drugs that you two really, really liked, you know, and I did quite a bit of it myself, was the old quiver, the old cocaine, and that was a really strange one because I could smell that.
Me too.
I could taste it as well before I even done it. Do you know what I mean? I got the flavor, I got the taste, I got the feelings, I gag. Yeah. I'd be twitching, making all like weird movements. And all that sort of stuff. So anyway, but I gravitated towards, you know, if someone had a tattoo, I liked them. You know, the harder they looked, I was quite excited with all that as well, you know, and then anything sort of like naughty, driving cars, you know, young without a license, motorbikes, any skullduggery just really turned me on. I got turned on by it. It's the only way I can explain it. And there was other stuff. I used to do water skiing when I was a kid. I was absolutely addicted to it. It was through like my mum and dad. There was a place that we went to. Those are the East End. Used to turn up down there when I was a kid, and it's sort of like, you know, I tuned into that as well. It was quite exciting. It was like barefoot water skiing. I got right into that. So
Was that Fairlock?
No, it was down near Clacton. A place down near Clacton we used to go to.
Yeah. I think I know exactly what you mean. Got a pub there on the shore.
It's got it used to have a pub on the lawn.
I know what you're talking about.
So we used to go down there. Went down there in the 70s when I was really, really little, and that's sort of like, you know, that was a thing as well. It was a fantasy thing. I just used to sit in school and just think about that all the time. That's what I was like thought about. So I sort of got to my teenage years. And all the sort of like normal stuff came in, you know, Tipex thinners on the sleeves, you know what I mean? There was glue, there was people puffing, there was bits of putter.
And what age is this?
Just from 13 at school.
Yeah.
You know, 13, Tipex thinner thing at school, aerosols, all that sort of stuff. At that time as well, I'll mention it because it was another like addiction for me. So I'm 53, so I sort of caught when I was a kid the mod era. Right, there's a mod era, so it was all like the Jam and the Lambrettas and the Chords and Merton Parkers, and it was, you know, all that sort of stuff. And
Quadrophenia.
Quadrophenia. That was like I was young when that came out, but you know, I sort of caught 1980. I was 9 years of age, you know, and 1981 I was 10, and I just sort of like caught it, you know, and I just used to watch people in my local area all on scooters, parkers. I loved the look, you know, that like the look, right?
Cool, smart. Yeah.
You know, they used to have like in Romford, they used to have a shop called Mince and Davis. They had one down in Colchester as well, you know, and I just like that look.
Was it all mod bits?
All mod bits, and then it sort of turned. It went from mod. Half the shot was mod, half the shot was casual, because the casuals came in then,
Right.
and I had a bit of an identity crisis. So I sort of like mods, but then I was a casual. You know what I mean? Then I was
What's
a
a
mod,
casual?
and so casuals were sort of like they wore the taquini and the feeler, deerstalker hats.
I got you.
Do you know what I mean? Kappa
Yeah,
jacket,
Sergio Tashini.
Lewis cords, all that
got
sort
ya.
of gear. right?
Adidas Sounders.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff, you know, and it's like, so it sort of went, so mod and casual weren't too far apart, really.
Okay.
But it's like the new mod, I suppose.
You're
You know what I mean?
casual, I think.
I'm a casual. I'm a tracksuit guy. Max don't own a tracksuit. No.
Don't say that on here.
Trying to get him into them.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, so anyway, you know, I liked all that. I liked scenes and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I liked scenes, and
Just
I
sink
was
your teeth into it.
really into it. So it's sort of like water skiing, then like the scenes, mod sort of scene, and then, you know, and drugs. Do you know what I mean? And naughty people.
Yeah.
It's like nuts, really, when I look back on it. Do you know what I mean? I wish I'd gravitated to the guy that sort of stood there with like the pen in his top pocket and the glasses and the little briefcase. You know what I mean? I'd have been well on my way. But no, I didn't. So I gravitated towards them lot. And then the scooters was a massive part of like my story when I was a kid. As I say, I was really addicted to it, and mods sort of turned into scooterists. Mods sort of faded away, and then you'd have like this. It was like the scooter scene. It was called. So the scooter scene was sort of it was crazy because you had like punks on scooters, like original sort of Trojan skinheads on scooters, and then you'd have like psychobillies, and you'd have casuals on scooters. It was just like the scooter scene. And
oh, nice.
It was, you know, and everyone used to go away sort of like weekends of scooter rallies, and just got right into it.
Where, Brighton?
Well, it's more like Yarmouth. Brighton was sort of like the mod scene back in the 60s, so it sort of changed. It was Skeggy, Skegness. There was Tenby in Wales.
Yeah, I know Tenby.
There was like Blackpool.
Good fun though.
Yeah, Morecambe, Whitley Bay, loads in Scotland. So there were most weekends these school runs, and I was right into it. And the little crowd of people that I was hanging about with was all the same. So as soon as before we were 16 really, but as soon as we were 16, our little sort of like crew that we had together all had scooters, and it was about going to scooter rallies. But also it was also about festivals as well. You know, it's, as I say, 1 minute as a casual, 1 minute as a mod. You know, then it sort of like went from my, you know, 1 minute I was a sort of psychobilly, and the next minute I was sort of like a scooterist, and then I was like a new age traveller.
Yeah.
My scooter got cut down and painted matte black. You know, I cut it down to the bones, and it was just like a sort of, you know, it was all that sort of thing. So Glastonbury started coming up, and there was fairs, you know, like hippie fairs all over the country, and the drugs just started creeping in, and it was just taking more drugs, you know, and the water skiing went away.
Yeah.
The harder the drugs got.
It's hard to water ski on drugs.
It was hard to water ski on drugs. I was probably quite good.
Yeah.
Right, but pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
Pretty dangerous. But that sort of went away. Do you know what I mean? Anything sort of like half normal in my life just started to slip away.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was in it, man. Do you know what I mean? I was really in it. We started going over to Amsterdam. I was thinking on the way in the car over it, as I would really, about doing this. I was thinking of like, I was 16. Back then, you used to get like, there's a boat called the St. Nick, and there's another one called the Beatrix, and they were the two boats that went to the Hook of Holland, to Harwich to the Hook of Holland.
Okay.
And I was in Amsterdam, quick as you like. I had like a fascination around marijuana. I don't know about you guys, but I wanted to know everything about it. I wanted to know where it's grown, what sort it was, and all that sort of stuff. So I ended up over in Holland.
Just totally obsessed by it, right? Everything about it.
By hook or crook, because I'm a good addict, you know, because I like to find out who the best people are. And when I was 16, I thought I was like 40. So, you know, I wanted to be like the man. And, yeah, I met some people in Amsterdam, man, and it was, looking back at it now, you always do that, don't you? You see kids of like a certain age, and you think, what was I doing, man? I was over there smoking crack cocaine, 16.
Don't they look young?
Baby, ain't you?
Don't they look young? And you see a youngster now.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I looked like I was about 5 when I was 16.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? I looked like mega young. I went over there, and it was all about puffing. It was all about acid, to say the truth. But later on, it became about pills over there. But it was like, you know, I got introduced to crack cocaine. Didn't even know it was crack cocaine. We were smoking it over there, and I was thinking, as I was driving over, I was thinking, God, it's so mad. So over there then, go into like triggering here, really. But back then, it used to work out, I think it was about 15 quid a gram shine. You know, the oily, like Peruvian shine.
Yeah.
You could get an eighth, it worked out as about 40 quid. Of course, it was guilders then, but I can't remember. I think it was like 30 guilders was 15 quid from what, I mean, this is years ago now. But you could get an eighth for about 40 quid, 3.5 grams for 40 quid. And it just came, and out there, all those, you know, they were just washing it out there, and it was all coming back 100%. And it was just like, I used to like do acid and smoke crack.
Mm.
I mean, 16-year-olds then, you can imagine what my head was like. I was absolutely fried.
Yeah.
Completely and utterly fried. And I knew how to wash it up. I knew what to do with it. I knew all the smuggling routes, how to smuggle. I'm 16.
Yeah.
Now, where am I getting this information from?
Mm.
Who, for someone that's 16 that looks like they're 5 years of age, you know what I mean? Like,
who's giving you that information?
why are those people giving me that information?
Yeah.
Why am I even privy to any of it?
Because they like youngsters that are impressionable. That's why you know, because they're doing it on purpose.
And some horrible things happened. This is the truth of it, right? Some horrible things happened. So, you know, I was intrigued. I'd go to any lengths. I'm an addict. Go to any lengths, don't you? Do you know what I mean? You know, go to absolutely any lengths. And it got dark really quick. It got dark really, really quick. And I feel really sad about that.
Mm.
And so at 16 it got dark. At 16, crimes, I started committing crimes.
Yep.
Those crimes got worse and worse and worse. And can I swear on it?
Yeah.
So whatever you want.
I hurt a fucking lot of people looking back. A lot of people.
You say you hurt a lot of people.
I hurt a lot of people. I took so many people hostages. I was taken hostage, obviously, but I took a lot of people hostage, and I just ran with it. And you know, I mean, like, that's enough, man, about my drug use. Put it this way, right? It was really bad then, and I stopped using when I was 39.
Wow.
You know, and I went hard at using.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? And it got progressively worse. I mean, it was pretty bad back then, right? But it got progressively worse. Who I use with, the people I use with changed, and they kept changing, they kept changing, they kept changing. You know, and it went from making loads of money, like basically up until the age I was 39. I mean, in this gap of time, because I don't really want to go into it.
No.
Kids arrived, you know what I mean? Kids went,
Yep.
you know, relationships came, relationships went.
Yep.
The police cells, prisons. And at the age of 30, I don't know how I was still alive.
No.
Right, hopefully we're going to go into a bit of solution, and like, you know what I mean? God must favour me, believe you me, for the stuff that I got up to and what I'd done and who I hurt for me to be here. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, man. But it was really, really dark. And yeah, at 39 years of age, I hit bottom.
Well,
I hit a
your last
bottom.
bottom.
I hit a bottom, right? That was like sufficient enough
Yeah.
to slap.
That's a great way of putting it. A bottom that was sufficient enough, because we've all been at bottom before that.
Can you just describe that situation at bottom, just so the listeners can get a mental picture in their head of where you were, what it took, what the situation you were in, like your last week using, basically? What was?
I mean, so before, I mean, this is before really I touched base with recovery, right? But I'm 39 years of age, yeah, and I was living with someone at 39 years of age, right? And it had got horrendous.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't want to share about the people that, you know, I just don't want to share about the people that I use with, but like, you know, I weren't nice. I weren't a nice person. Do you know what I mean? And we was in a situation, it got so dark. There was so many consequences. They were horrendous consequences. People that are like in the rooms with me know what happened around that sort of time. Do you know what I mean? It was horrible. I was the one that I came off lightly compared to other people that I was around. Believe you me, it was really dark. And I'll tell you about my bottom. So my bottom, what happened is like, I'm a short man, right? And I was angry when I was using. I was really angry.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You know, a few people called me Angry Nick. And I weren't right. I was pretty demented. I did some like absolutely mad things, and I frightened people. That's what I did. And I'm short, do you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm really short, you know, but I was just like this ball of like anger. And I'd stand up to whoever. I didn't care how big you were. Do you know what I mean? I'd judge it.
Yeah.
I'd judge it. But like, if I had to, I'd come out. Do you know what I mean? And my whole theory was, I'll hurt you. Whatever you do to me, believe you me, you're going to have to be prepared to get hurt. Keeps a lot of people away, that does.
It does,
learned,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
I used to do that, acting like you can fight. Gets you out of having a lot of fights. Yeah.
I'm telling you. So why I say that is because I couldn't have fought my way out of a paper bag or spoken my way out of a paper bag. And I was so frightened at the end of my using. I had this hole inside of me that was so dark. I felt incredibly depressed, incredibly fearful. I will share this. I can remember one of the last time I scored drugs, a kid rode past me on his push bike, BMX, I think it was, and I shit myself. I like jumped off the floor. I was that petrified. And there was just something inside that just went, I can't do it anymore.
No.
Do you know what I mean? I couldn't like get up, and because the way I was using and the drugs that I was using, you know, you had to get up every day and you had to go out and you had to and graft, you know what I mean? And it was sad grafting. It was like from buying like kilos of this and kilos of that and, you know, all that sort of stuff. It went down to like
grafting for a score.
Nicking nappies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a joke that goes on in LA, you know, a lot of people have said it, you know, last seen running down sort of like, I don't know, like Romford High Street with a hock of ham under your arm and a pack of Gillette.
Yeah.
Like razors being chased by a security guard. And that's what it got to. Do you know what I mean?
no
And begging
glamour in
as
it.
well. Please, can you let me escort? You know, like I was 39, man.
Yeah.
Been in prisons and stuff. Do you know what I mean? And like stood up. I weren't standing up. And that was the bottom that I was at. So I came to that bottom.
Yeah.
I couldn't breathe, man. And I had, you know, because I used to get like, I used to have to be given medication and stuff. And I was on like lots of different medications and all that sort of thing. And I was spent and I just got a slapping really. Do you know what I mean? And I actually, you know, it was like loud and clear in my head. You're a donut. You've melted. You know what I mean? And you're just going to have to accept it because you cannot build your way out of it or bullshit your way out of this again. You know, everyone's found out.
I'll reach
You know
that
what I mean?
I know exactly how you
Everybody's found out.
At 39, Nick, did you have any idea of any fellowship? Had you been introduced at all along the way, or is?
Well, yeah, in true addict fashion. Do you know what I mean? I sort of like I'd heard about 12-step, and it was just you know, I'm atheist, mate.
Yeah.
And my cousin's American, but I don't like Americans. And that's God Squad.
Yeah.
I ain't going there.
Cult.
Yeah. Shite.
Yeah.
That was it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That was it. You know, but over the process, there's some people that stepped in. Do you know what I mean? There's like, you know, there's some people that stepped in, and I tried to get clean. I'd done about, I don't know, 10 detoxes and just like done them and then walked out of them. Back then you could get loads of funding.
Right.
And I see a little MOT, do you know what I mean? 3 weeks. So I go in there and then I just like, I get
MOT
trained.
is a great way of putting it. Oil change.
Okay.
Quick MOT. Do you know what I mean? And then at that
Get a
time,
stone on you.
I was in contact with a service down in Pitsea. That's where I used to get like a medication from.
Yeah.
Chain to a pharmacy.
It was terrible, yeah. And I used to have to go down there, and I'd leave this detox and then go down there, and I'd just drink on the way back. Do you know what I mean? Because didn't think alcohol was a drug. I didn't think I had a problem with it. I used to drink 1.5 liters of vodka a day, but I didn't think I had a problem with it. It was the other things that I had a problem with.
Yeah.
And I'd be back to square one, and then I'd be begging them for another detox. And in the end, they did the best thing they could have ever done. And they said, "You ain't having it. Bye-bye. I've had enough." And of course, funding started getting cut and all that sort of stuff.
And this is previous to that rock
This is
bottom you're talking
previous
about,
to that.
39.
That was at 39, do you know what I mean? And then what happened was I was that desperate. And with my journey, I'd try to get clean. And I met someone.
Right.
I met someone, and that person saved my life.
Wow.
Do I know this person?
Yeah, I'm going to say who it is as well. His name's Ian. He's a Scouser.
Yeah.
I hated Scousers as well.
Yeah.
Sorry to any Scousers. Well, I will say this so everyone knows.
we love
Anyway,
Scousers.
I love Scousers now. And I've got loads of Scouse mates, right?
Yeah.
But he saved my life. And if I was to say to him, "You saved my life," he'd say, "No, I didn't. My 12 steps saved your life." And it did. It
What do you
really,
mean?
really did. So, you know, obviously with the 12 steps, 12 step is carry the message, right?
Yeah.
And he had been through the steps. Do you know what I mean? And he'd had an awakening, 100%. You know what I mean? There'd been a spiritual awakening going on for him. And he carried the message to me. So for about, I think it was around about 2.5 years, my timeline's rubbish, as I said, but about 2.5 years or maybe a bit more, he used to be on the phone all the time. All the time. I used to ring him. It was mad. I feel so shameful about it. I used to ring him up and say, Ian, I can't stop using. That's all right. What are you doing? And I'd be getting like a train somewhere to go and getting on. And he'd stay on the phone to me, and then I'd like argue with him and say, stop ringing me, and put the phone down on him. And I was the one that rang him.
Right, yeah.
And he went through that for like, well, probably nearly 3 years, two and a bit years, 2.5 years or something. He went through that, and he just stayed with me and was just really, really calm. And one day I can remember him saying to me, he said, I don't want to use, but I'm going to use. I can't stop using. He said, that's right, just use and don't beat yourself up. And it really spun my head out. I thought, what do you mean use and don't beat yourself up? It's like, it spun my head.
So were you doing meetings at this point or not?
No.
Just in contact with him?
I'd been to a couple because I've been in these detoxes and H&I used to come in.
What did that do?
But I just used to judge them all.
When he said you, did that, because you said about your dad said go left, you went right. Did you use when he said go on and use?
I did use, but it really upset me, man.
Yeah.
It really upset me. I was sitting there so frustrated.
I'm not going to use that. You
know? Oh, honestly, it was like purgatory. That period before I got clean, you know what I mean? It's like I was in the obsession, right? Because this is the thing, yeah. Mind you, so I've had 2 sponsors, and I've sort of like, you know, you guys know my journey's been up and down, but I've had 2 sponsors, and so it's kind of about 16 years that I've been like trying to do this stuff. And my first sponsor was there for 13 years, 12 years, 13 years. And he sponsored me before he even sponsored me, really. Anyway, this new guy that I've got, he said, listen, he goes, this is an interesting one, right? So he says, and I believe it, once someone's in the obsession, you're using.
Yeah, agree.
Because I hear it in the rooms a lot. I hear people tell me, I've been obsessing about using for the past 2 months. Yeah. No, you ain't.
No, you ain't.
You've been thinking about it. And once you're in that obsession. So I was kind of in the obsession, right, with this guy before I got clean. I was in the obsession, and the obsession was, I can't use. I don't want to use. Bump, and I'd use, and I think, what is going on?
Yeah.
It was like purgatory, do you know what I mean? Because I really didn't want to. Looking back, that was forcing me to a bottom. Anyway, so what happened is he said to me, he said, listen, you need to come to South London. That was another thing I didn't want to do either. And it's like, it was a bit of a joke for me, do you know what I mean? Because like, you know, I don't know, so people don't go to South London, right? If you live this side of the water.
No, there's no need.
What's the point? Go to South London, yeah. And anyway, love South London. Like
yeah,
Scousers.
So do I. Just like Scousers, we love South London.
I love South London, though.
One of our best mates is from South London.
It's like my spiritual home, South London.
Yeah.
Really, really is. And but for the grace of God, really, I've got to say that as well. I ended up in South London through this guy. And I limped over there. And I got there and I got welcomed by that guy who 12-stepped me. Gave me a big hug, man. And he just said, everything's going to be all right.
Did you believe him?
I was so scared, Chris, man.
Yeah.
I was 39 years of age. You know, done prisons, done police cells, you know what I mean? Been in lunatic places with like knives, guns, you know what I mean? All sorts of stuff. And I was just really fearful. I thought I was beyond repair. And but there's a little bit of hope there, right?
Yeah.
And he was really gentle with me, which I needed. I'd had a lot of like raised voices and sort of, I don't know, all right, mate, and all that sort of thing. And he had like a soft Scouse accent, and he said, everything's going to be all right. Do you want a cup of tea? Oh man.
Yeah.
You know, and it took a bit of the fear away. Yeah, I felt safe. I felt safe. Anyway, I was with him, and I was in there. It's like a hostel I went to. I'm gonna shout this place out as well, right? Because you know, what I'm going to say later on in this podcast is like, and you guys know it, you do not have to go to rehab to get clean. You don't.
Settle time.
100%, right? You go to any 12-step fellowship, AA, CA, NA. I mean, there's loads in there. You know, Coda, SLA, whatever it is. You know, you can get clean in the rooms from whatever behaviour is going on for you, whatever addiction you got. I felt like a little boy again. Do you know what I mean? That's where it took me. I felt so anxious, so scared, man. I needed to be somewhere. So I went across to a place called Kairos in South London.
Right.
That saved my life, 100%.
It really did.
It's a hostel, man. It's like, I think it's, from what I can't even remember now. I think it's 25 bed or something like that, hostel. But it was a detox at the time. It was a hostel detox.
So there's no using in there.
There's no using in there. It was like it was sort of like yeah. I mean, it was it was a detox at the time. I don't want to go too much into politics. It was a weird detox, but it was a detox, right? 100%. And I went in there, and luckily for me, full of Narcotics Anonymous members, all running it.
Yeah, nice.
Apart from the little nun who was the manager there, Sister Elizabeth. Oh, bless her heart, man. Little Sister Elizabeth. I always say it. She's about 3.5 foot tall. Fierce as anything she was. Yeah. And fully armed with the facts, funny enough. Yeah. She knew the new 12-step program back to front. No. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think so, right? And yeah, so yeah, the place is amazing. So Kairos, like for anyone out there listening, Kairos is amazing. And I'll always big it up for the rest of my life. It is absolutely fantastic. They save lives. To start with, they sort of concentrated on sort of homeless alcoholics and stuff, and it's grown over the years. And now they've still got that detox. It's a absence-based hostel now. They've got a rehab. They've got an aftercare program. They've got a day rehab, a day program. And they've got loads of move-on houses. It's awesome. It's an amazing place anyway. And they were just like completely and utterly bang on the 12 steps. And the requirement was you go in there and you do meetings. Yeah. And you detox. And there was like little groups and stuff in there. And what I was actually presented with when I went in there was like black key rings. So it was like, well, saying it was all NA members, Narcotics Anonymous members, there's some Cocaine Anonymous members working there as well, and some Alcoholics Anonymous members working there as well. So it's, you know,
just for anyone who doesn't know, black key rings, multiple years of
recovery. And they all had them, and it's funny, isn't it, right? It's really, really funny. I'm 39 years of age. I've been through like, you know, madness. Yeah. Seen this, that, and the other. You know, sort of like, I don't know. Had the using style of someone in Hollywood, ended up on a park bench in Cricklewood, that kind of deal. Do you know what I mean? Had all that stuff going on, fast cars and motorbikes and all that sort of thing. And then I saw a black key ring, and it was like, oh, what's that?
Yeah, I want one of them.
I want one of them. I thought, what? Like a 10p key ring. Yeah. And they had them. And I got, you know, I was hooked in. I thought, I want one of them, because everyone looked a bit special at Adam, right? Yeah. They look like the Dons.
Yeah. Well, they are. They're the black belts.
100% jiu-jitsu black belt, right?
Yeah. 7th Dan.
So, yeah, I went into that place, and basically that guy who I said saved my life, he turned around and said, listen, I started a meeting up on a Thursday, and I think, I don't know, it was like a Monday maybe that I went in there. He said, so Thursday, it's the first meeting. And I went to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, 66 Nunhead Lane. It's not there anymore. They've actually moved it. I was speaking to the guys, and I actually went and shared there. So it's now in Goose Green, which is just across the road, basically. But that was the meeting, 66 Nunhead Lane, Thursday night. And I walked into that meeting, and there was a girl called Sally sitting there. And she did the share the first night I walked into that meeting, and I knew Sally. She's an Essex girl, and she got some clean time. She was doing the share. And the guy who became a sponsor was taking the meeting. And it started happening, man. The magic started happening. Do you know what I mean? There was a long old road to go through. I did a long-ass detox in there. And then I went to a rehab after that. And then I did like an aftercare program for another like 3 months after that. And it was like long.
Did you
And
feel
then I
that
went
connection
somewhere.
quickly, Nick? Because I remember when I went to my first meetings, it was pretty quick for me to actually, I felt at home and at ease, and I found my people, and I could sit down and shut up and listen, and I just felt at home, like you said. Was it
No.
no,
It weren't for me.
no, that's fair.
Right, I mean, something happened, yeah. I can remember walking out of that meeting and thinking to myself, maybe it'll be all right. But to tell you the truth, I'll tell you, my introduction to the rooms, and I think this is a good message for people, right?
Yeah,
Was it is a slugfest, mate, for me.
right.
I just saw all the differences, every single difference. You know, that meeting with that girl, like even I'd use with her, I thought, yeah, but she went to a worse place than I did.
Yeah, I think I
She was like
so-
doing some stuff that, like, you know what I mean, that I wouldn't have been able to do anyway. But she
Yeah.
was doing, you know what I mean. It was like I don't know. It was, anyway, and I was just fully self-obsessed to the core. I couldn't handle it because everything had gone. Well, I used to be able to stand up. I couldn't stand up anymore. I just sat in the meetings and I found it painful.
Right.
Really, really painful. It was lucky I was where I was, and there was all that keep coming back, and because I knew that guy and that girl, like I had like a little bit of support.
Yeah.
Sort of people were sort of, I suppose, because I don't know, a lot of people thought I was really, really angry, but I think people thought, well, he must be all right because they think he's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I got some support anyway. Do you know what I mean? I started to get that sort of like recovery capital and people around me, and then. You know, a lot of people going, you're doing really well. Keep coming back. Doing really well. I'm sweating. I'm on like 140 methadone. I'm detoxing. I'm hanging out my arse.
On
What
the
do you mean
wrong
I'm
side of the
doing well?
road.
Yeah, it's like, what?
Yeah, I completely relate to what you're saying. Like, just if you knew what I was thinking and feeling, you would not be saying I was doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we do, right? We hug. I mean, that was another thing. Hugs, man. I've just thought, get off me.
Yeah, I wasn't
doing.
No. Yeah.
You know, all that sort of thing. Kisses, like people like kissing
Holding
you.
hands.
What's going on? And then like, yeah, the little gingangooli thing at the end of the meeting. I thought, oh, this is horrendous.
Yeah.
Saying that, I went to a meeting the next night,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
Because I saw that there was people recovering, right? So there was that hope, but it was hard for me. I wasn't the addict that walked in, opened up the basic text or the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous and thought, there's me.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's going, oh, I've opened up that book and it's me. It's written about me. And I didn't think it was about me. I was so...
I truly
honestly.
believe, Nick, that we have to be that broken to look and to change. Because what I'm saying is, when I came into it, and when I went to my first meeting, yeah, I didn't want to do those things, and I didn't want to listen, and I didn't want to share, and I didn't want to feel part of. But I was so broken; there was no other door open. So I just thought, this is it. I've got to do
Yeah.
this. Do you know what I mean?
Beaten into a state of reasonableness.
That's it. That gift of desperation.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, if I went in there still using and still got a bit about me, then I ain't going to take on those suggestions.
No, well, I did that. You saw me come in, still
Exactly,
using,
Chrissy.
still full of bravado.
Yeah,
It took me another 2 years to get it.
yeah,
You need to be broken.
yeah.
I was definitely broken, but I was like a petulant little child.
Mm.
I was
Yeah.
stamping my feet. I'm telling you,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really, really was. I couldn't share. I used to just sit there and sweat in meetings, getting self-obsessed.
Same.
I remember once I was at, funny enough, it's just been in a film. But I was at a meeting in Lorrimore Square. It's in Camberwell, this meeting, and it was a big circle in the meeting, and I had this old fleece on and it had elasticated like ties at the bottom bit.
Yeah.
I was sitting there with some sponsors, big circle in the meeting, and I hadn't shared in the meeting. I think I was like 30 days. And like my sponsors give me a nudge when it was 30 days. I didn't want to get up, and he's nudged me again. He's going, it ain't about you. Go and get a key ring. It's about the newcomer.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, it freaked me out that much. I stood up and I walked towards the people giving the key rings out, and I'd realised that I was attached to the orange plastic chair, and I dragged it the whole way across the meeting.
Attached to your toggle.
Attached to the toggle. Picked the key ring up. I was dying.
Yeah.
And then dragged the chair back and sat down and just melted in the chair.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's
Oh,
brilliant, man.
Man,
That
it was
is so funny.
Yeah. So I found it really, really hard.
Mm.
And I'm a slow burner. You know, my sponsor was just really encouraging. He'd go, it's all right, man. You know, it's all right. It's okay. Do you know what I mean? He'd say like, I think once he said to me, I'd have to ask him. I'm sure he did say it to me. He said, "Are you scared?" You know, I was like, "Who are you talking to?" You said, I ain't scared, but like, I was. You know what I mean? It was like one of them moments again. It was really hard to get my head around.
Yeah.
I went, yeah. It's all right. It's all right. You know, this isn't the place where you've got to put any badges or masks on. This is about getting rid of it all. You are who you are, and it's all right being here.
It's a really good point, I think. And for the listener who's thinking about potentially trying to get into meetings, there's no right or wrong way of doing this, right? No. It doesn't say you have to come in and share at your first meeting or pick up service or make the teas and coffees at your first meeting. There's
or stay clean from the word go.
Exactly. There is no there's no rules to this. Like we all have our different journeys. I know newcomers who shared at their first meeting. Me, myself, I did open my mouth for 3 months because I was petrified like you, Nick. Do you know what I mean? And we're all on our own little journey, even when we get into recovery.
Exactly what I was going to say. It's like for every recovering addict in the world, that's how many programs there are in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a guideline. The 12 steps is a guideline for you to find your own way.
Yeah. It's lovely you're sponsored. Yeah, put kiddie gloves around you, Nick, because obviously he could see that's how you would react best to that.
Some people need a firm hand.
Yeah.
And there's someone for everyone. It's so, you know. So anyway, that was my fit. Let me get on to some good stuff.
Sorry, mate, go on.
No, there's no being sorry. It's me. I can go on about a load of old nonsense.
Not at all.
So what happened is I started doing meetings. Right, and I was doing meetings all the time. This guy was leaving work and coming across from London and picking me up and taking me to meetings. He was amazing, and he turned around and said to me that one of the first things he said to me is he said, "Listen, this is a 12-step program, and this is all about 12 steps." Not that I was listening to him that much, but you know, eventually I asked this guy to sponsor me. He said it would be a privilege. I remember that was in a Portuguese gaff in Brixton. Like a Portuguese cafe in Brixton, and I'd asked his sponsor if he'd sponsor me, and his sponsor turned around and said, "Why don't you ask him?" And because we were sort of like friends and stuff, I thought that'd be a bit weird. And I went, would you? And he went, "It'd be a privilege," in front of another man. It was weird, like language. You don't use that when you're using, do you?
No.
It really touched me. And anyway, so he just turned around and said, "Listen, you need to go to step meetings, right?" And I wasn't working steps with him because I was in treatment, but he used to leave work, come pick me up, and we used to go like over to, he'll love this, because I remember we went to St. James's Park, and in St. James's Park they'd have these like big bean bags set out looking over the pond in there of all the like swans and all that sort of stuff, and he'd buy me a coffee and we'd have basic text there. Nice. And we'd just start doing like pre-steps. Right. So, you know, he'd say to me, "Okay, so what do you think about like who is an addict out of the basic text?" And I'd have to write a little bit about who is an addict, and we'd sort of highlight it and discuss it. And then we go to step meeting. So within this year of me like first going to South London, so I did the detox. I think I was in there for like 4 or 5 months, and I did the rehab 3 months or 4 months. I think I was in there, and then I did an aftercare. Anyway, it was like a year's worth of thing. I started to heal, man. The solution was just tap, 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 drip, 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 drip. Meetings, more meetings, letting this stuff wash over me. Because it does, right? Do you know what I mean? You can get it like psychologically. I mean, it's hard enough to get it like cognitively, right? But then once you've got it cognitively, you've got to start actually feeling it inside. So he's my sponsor, and we start to work the steps. And that is where the magic happens, right? Of course it is. And what the steps are for me is, you know, the first step, I've got to learn about the illness and accept it, that I've got it. Once I've got it and know that I've accepted it and know that I've got an illness, I can then get better. With that second step, do you know what I mean? That's what it's all about, is asking for help, right? Even now, all the time, it's like step 2 in my head, step 2. I start getting confused. Step 2. Pick the phone up, go and Google. Step 2.
He's so good at that.
Power greater. Step 2. I've got a toothache, go to dentist.
He always picks up the phone.
All
I'm
that.
talking about Max, by the way, to the people who can't see me pointing.
Teacher's pet,
He's great at step 2. Really.
It's like, do you know what I mean?
Programmed to do it though now. That's the step 2 is massive for me in my recovery today. 5 years clean. I was going to come on to your clean, Tom. You're just a little bit behind me, aren't you? Yeah. Coming up soon. Yeah, nice, man. Yeah, the step 2
I actually think I am now, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I think I am.
Congratulations.
There's a big story about that, but I think I am, 5
Yeah, the
years.
step 2, I interrupted you, but it's massive, isn't it? That asking for help. I found it so hard at the start, but now I'm just programmed that way now, just to try and.
The steps, I imagine, if I start feeling irritable, restless, discontent, resentful, angry, whatever I'm feeling, right, whatever's going on, my head just instantly goes, step 1. In fact, it says it in a Scottish accent because one of my old therapists was Scottish, and we used to call him Step 1 Ron.
Yeah.
And he had this Scottish accent, Step 1.
Yeah.
And that's what goes on in my head, Step 1.
Yeah, nice.
What do I need to do? Step 2.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a step 2. Between step 1 and step 2, really, everything flashes between my eyes. Breathe, man.
Mm-hmm.
Take a step back. It's like the 6th and 7th step, right? Step 1 and 2. Because they all intertwine with each other, right? Yeah. So I'm starting to think a mad way, or I'm starting to feel a mad way. So I'm aware of that. If I start thinking too negatively, and it's like, you know, patterns of negative thoughts, stop. Step 1.
Mm-hmm.
You're in it. It's a great thing. Me and Taz, my mate Taz, we're always on at each other. How are you in it? I'm in it. Well, what's going on? And I just know that's like me saying, step 1, I'm in trouble. Step 2, sort my thinking out for me.
Yeah, nice.
Check my thinking out. Step 1 and 2 are beautiful steps, them two.
Yeah.
And it's just like ingrained. So just like it runs through me now, like the program.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't, right? But majority, 98% of the time, it runs through me.
Yeah, but look, you say sometimes it doesn't, and it gets painful enough, you'll remember it. And you're like, oh, fucking hell, I let that go a little bit further than I needed to. But you always come back to it.
Well, the program's in there, right? It's like a computer program.
Programmed, yeah.
I've got one program, which is me, which is my will on my will. Do you know what I mean? That's me. And then I've got and I've got a little stick that I've now sort of stuck in my ear hole, and it just like R2D2, and it's like there's the steps. Connect to it. It's amazing. Man.
You really have. And funny you were saying that.
I'm going well mad here.
No, not at all. You started saying a sentence and you was like, the steps are like where it's at. So it goes further than that. So step 1, 2. And like for me, the only time I ever lose my temper, get the arm, is at home. Right? I am delightful to everyone. Me and my missus are the only 2 people that she doesn't argue with anyone either, just me. And I only argue with just her. Sometimes. I'm not saying that that's what our relationship's based on. It's not. But she knows where my buttons are and she pushes them. And I know where her buttons are and I push them. We're with each other all the time.
The ones that are closest get it the most.
Exactly. Right. So when that does happen, that blow up, and I'm like, apply the steps to this. And it always ends up with a step 9 on my part and a step 9 on her part. We apologize. We get honest about what we were thinking and what we were feeling. We apologize for the things we said and did. We move forward. You know what I mean? I don't know how people get through life without applying the steps. It baffles me. Everyone could use this program.
Yeah, I mean, it is great, right? I'm just now thinking of the better half of me, little monkey, right? Karen.
She's safe.
I'm thinking of her listening to you saying that.
Yeah.
She'll probably use that against me. See what Chris does.
Yeah. Oh, it takes me 24 hours though. It's not immediate.
But no, you're so right. It is, isn't it? The ones that are closest, you know, get it the mostest because, you know, you've got that sort of like...
My sponsor said that to me. I was like, she pushes my buttons, John. And he's like, she knows where they are, mate. She put them there.
I mean, yeah, so just them 2 steps are great, you know, because look, it's the solution, right? I need the solution. I can sit here and talk. I'll probably talk too long about the problem, right? You know, but I want to be here to talk about the solution. I want to be here to like big up the fellowships, right? You know, like I attend 2 fellowships, right? I do. Do you know what I mean? AA is very close to my heart. NA is close to my heart. I'm definitely more NA than I am AA. I suppose, because I cleaned up in NA and I love the literature, etc., etc. If you go to CA, it doesn't matter. It's all about 12 steps and it's all about a solution. And I will say to people, if I think to myself, actually, I wonder whether CA might be more suited to them, I won't say go CA. Do you know what I mean? I'll say, look, you know, it could be. So go and try it. You can try NA and try AA. Do you know what I mean? But it's the 12 steps of the solution. And this is the thing. I think the NA 12 steps, it's written like it wasn't to start with. I didn't think it was about me, but now I just open them books and I think, oh, there I am, there I am,
Yeah,
there
so-
I am,
yeah,
there
it's
I
funny
am,
you
there
say
I
that.
am, there I am.
You've
Every
been
page,
conditioned.
there I am. You know, so just started working through this stuff. I mean, I always say a lot. It's like I thought I had a drug problem. I found out it was a me problem. What is about me that is the problem? You know, what major factor about me that is like a real big problem? And it's my control. And also, step one can be changed to, you know, Nick must admit to himself that he's got really, really controlling behaviours. And through them controlling behaviours, his life has become completely and utterly unmanageable. Step two, I need to go to a power greater than me, someone that will actually call me on my shit and say, you're at it, you're in it again. You're trying to control everything again.
Yep.
Step three is really turning it over and letting go of that control. That's what my step three is. You know what I mean? Most of the time, is trying to let go of that control. How do I let go of that control? Well, I've got to find the God of my understanding. That's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
The fellowship. It's of our understanding, you know. Lots of people have got their own understandings of it, but it's my understanding. But my understanding is that in NA, we say in NA, that NA says, I don't care what your higher power is, but there is a condition. It must be loving and caring. All right, so I've got a higher power that's loving and caring. Now, do I think that my higher power had something to do with them steps? I think it's far beyond human capacity to write those steps. That's my understanding of it. So what are the steps about and what's the basis of them steps? The basis of them steps is it's spiritual in nature and the spiritual principles that run throughout all of them steps, right? So what am I letting go? What am I letting go to? I'm letting go to a higher power that's then going to give me a blueprint of how to let go.
Yep.
So, okay, so what spiritual principles do I need to use to let go? Well, forgiveness is a big one, right? Well, how do I forgive? Phone my sponsor up. How do I forgive, Gav? You know, and I'll get told. So, you know, two men in my life that I love dearly. So my old sponsor, Ian, I love him to bits, still phone him up regularly. Oh, man, you know, and my new sponsor, Gavin. And he's there to use.
Nice, man.
And he will give me his experience about how he let go, what to do, you know, and
what a place to be.
I don't
that
feel
we've got
judged.
sponsors.
Just step 1, 2, and 3. You know, like just them first 3 steps without even going to the restaurant. We are blessed.
Yeah, I was going to say.
We are blessed. And you know that thing about like the whole world could do these steps?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm in and out of that. I mean, you know, Doris that ends up in the, you know, down at the post office, it's really annoying and that. And I could say, I mean, gosh, she needs a 12-step program. Why does she?
Yeah.
She's all right.
Yeah. I know. You know
Who
what
knows?
it is for me, right? You know, he's talking about that childhood stuff. We're just full of fear, discontent, and like on edge all the time. And you see other kids, or I saw other kids when I was that age, and they just seem to understand what to do and what not to do. And if things were just easy for them. That is what the 12 steps allows me to have a little bit of that.
You're so right. Probably back then, what it was is they were outgrowing the self-centeredness of the child and you weren't. Because that reading in NA, you know, the self-obsession pamphlet is like a go-to with me all the time.
me
The
too.
more
I've
you
got it all
read
the
it, the
time.
more you understand it. So, you know, it says in there, doesn't it? Like addicts, however, never seem to outgrow the self-centeredness of a child, So the self-centered behaviour is really, really controlling. I'm running the show in my own mind. Right? I'm running their own show. So naturally it says in there that they'll go to a power greater than themselves, isn't it? Like, you know, normal kids, well, kids without the disease of addiction, alas, we don't. We just start to gravitate for fixes on the outside of us. We don't internalise it and let go. And that's where the higher power comes in, right? Basically, I thought I was God.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't. I wasn't walking around going, I'm God, I'm God, I'm God, and all that sort of stuff. But when you look at it, right, it's like, because that's what kids think they are, don't they? Like babies, they just think that everyone should be at their beck and call.
Yeah, of course, children are,
And they are.
narcissists. You know what I mean? They are. All they care about is themselves because they're babies. They don't understand.
That's it. I want it now. Give it to me.
Yeah. And don't give it to me. I'm going to scream until you do. I'm dealing with it now.
I'll still like that at 39. I'm still like it now.
Exactly.
My
But look,
missus will be shouting at this stage, you still like it now.
this is exactly it. Once I got a grasp of the 12 steps and I applied a program into my life, all of a sudden I didn't scream until I got what I wanted anymore. And now I can have a normal life.
So you can see yourself. That's for me.
Yeah.
Recovery gives me that. I can see my actions. I can
Yeah.
see my thinking. Before I was just 100 mile an hour. Do you know what I mean? And I didn't even see myself. But now I've got that.
Funny what you say about seeing yourself. So when I was in the dry house, I was living with let's say a difficult character, right? And I used to get my fucking back up from the minute I stepped in that house. And my sponsor, John, he was like, maybe it's like you're looking in the mirror.
Mm.
And I was like, fuck off. Right. And he was right. He was right. The traits that this guy had were the bad traits that I don't like in myself. And it was such a learning experience for me. I was like, okay, that's the stuff I need to change.
Mm.
And I would find myself doing little bits and I'm like, oh my God, that's what he would have done. And it was a catalyst for change. You know what I mean? But by him saying that to me, he knows I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
But he knows I need to.
And you'll take it off him, but probably not off anyone else.
Exactly.
One finger pointing out, three pointing back itself.
Yeah, there you go.
And if anyone ever said that in the past, I'd be fighting you.
Yeah.
But with the old sponsor, you can't, can you? Because you're so indebted to him.
You are indebted to him. And like you said, yeah, like he's finishing work and driving across town and coming to pick you up. When you see that level of willingness from someone else for no monetary gain, it changes my perspective. I'm like, why are they doing that? I'm like, oh, it's because they care. They actually care. And that's why, because I had a couple of people in my life that were like that and I saw that level of willingness and selflessness. So now when it comes to my own 12-step work, I will do whatever I can to be of service. Obviously, I've got other commitments, family stuff. I'm not at my sponsee's beck and call.
Yeah.
I'm not. But if I can be there, the time is yours. And I've got that from seeing other people do it and be like, oh, that's what you need to do. So that's what I do because I owe the fellowship my life.
It's so humbling, man.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it, Max?
No, it is, mate.
So humbling. And when you watch some people, I mean, I'm a watcher, right? And I watch, but so, you know, us three come across people in the fellowship who have done some, right, you know, just done some stuff, yeah. Right, done some stuff. People that you'd more than likely keep well out of their way back in the day. Well out of that way. You wouldn't have been anywhere near them, do you know what I mean? And you walk into a meeting and they're washing up. They put their hand up and say, I'll do the washing up.
Yeah.
I'll make the tea and coffee.
Yeah.
You what? You like going through banks and stuff. You know what I
I'm
mean?
picturing
like,
a couple of people now.
multi-million-pound smugglers and like, off of like flipping, you know, in like major riots in prison.
Absolute
and all that sort of
sweethearts.
stuff.
Yeah. Absolute sweethearts.
I'll tell you a quick little story, right? So my son, I took him, you know, this is an amazing thing. So I took my son on holiday last year.
Yeah, I love it.
And I'm gonna shout this guy out right on here. So it's John, right, from Liverpool. And he stayed with me for a couple of days, right? And, you know, anyway, people can find out about his life story. I'm not going to blow him up, but he did some stuff. Do you know what I mean? This fella, and he looks the part, right? And my son turned around to me and said, who's that? So I sort of said who he was. He spent some time with us. And my son went, man, he went, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
He went, wow. You know, and that's what the change. And society, I wish they saw more of that. What actually happens, because we're on an anonymous program. It's hard, isn't it? Right.
Yeah.
But the changes, a leopard won't change its spots. You know, people have got that opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, I think though
It's not true.
you say change,
At
but
all.
is that your powerful Liverpool? Is that his genuine self though? Do you know what I mean? Is that actually him? Is that who he's meant to be? The version that your son saw?
100%.
Yeah,
course it
and
is.
that's that. I truly believe like the version that I'm portraying today. Like I go back to my wife's party last night. I was on the dance floor non-stop, but I could see people peripheral. I could see them saying like, "How's he doing it without a beer inside him?" But I spoke to my missus when a lovely walk this morning. Like the kids were at my mother and father-in-law's, and we were just like discussing last night, etc. And I just said, I'm so comfortable in my own skin, Nick. Do you know what I mean? I'm so genuine today. And it's NA, that's because I've seen people be genuine and I'm just mirroring their behaviour, I suppose. It's just a lovely position to be in, occasionally a mask will come up, but a lot of the time what you see is what you get with me now. And like going back to your Liverpool mate, I suppose that's the transformation that he's had as well.
Yeah, I see it all the time. So one of my best mates in recovery, on paper, swerving. Yeah. He is he's a sweetheart of a man.
Yeah.
I would say, oh, can you look after my kids for me, please?
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
Right. And we've had such in-depth chats about feelings, and he just like, there was a point in my life, I get emotional when I talk about this guy. He was just such he was like a sense of home for me. Yeah. When I was in this dry house, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And, on paper, he's a scumbag in the eyes of society.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just not true. One of the first episodes we did is about misconceptions of what an addict is and how an addict behaves. And it's like you said, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. It's because what we're doing, we're an anonymous program. So the juicy stuff is the bad stuff.
Yeah.
The solution and the good stuff, we keep really quiet about it, because it tells us to be anonymous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's almost like that's part of what this stuff is doing. We're trying to raise the awareness, educate, like put a little bit of an exclamation mark on the good part.
Yeah, but Chrissy, how many messages we had? I'm not going to divulge them. We might do an episode later on down the line, but we've had so many messages from spouses, from family members, from ex-partners, from whatever it be. I finally understand how my partner ticks now. Haven't we? We've had so many from especially wives and husbands, and just saying like, I didn't understand about the illness. I didn't understand it. I just thought they acted like that because that was them. Do you know what I mean? And it gives me goosebumps talking about that sort of stuff, because that's why we're here, really.
That is so important, Max. That is so important, because this is definitely worth speaking about, right? So we've talked a little bit about it, the self-centered nature of the addict. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I look back and I know 100% I could not handle life on life's terms. That's what it's all about. Why couldn't I? I couldn't, because I was just riddled with fear. I was just riddled with fear. I just couldn't do life. Do you know what I mean? It just really freaked me out. I just wanted to feel excited all the time, and I couldn't handle my feelings and emotions. I had no program to deal with it. We go through people's lives. The damage that we cause others, I mean, I can see it now. Whether I can feel it properly or not, I don't really know. But like my dad, when I was using, he was in bits. He was in bits, my dad. He was, and I love him dearly. You know, I love my mum and I love my dad. And my dad was like, saw the real brunt of stuff. Right? He was really in the thick of it, my dad. Covered in psoriasis, drinking himself after death. He's not one of us, right? You know, he had a drink problem, 100%. He'd definitely say that. Covered in psoriasis, 60 Camel cigarettes a day, you know what I mean? Camel cigarette, like, puffing them, drinking, covered in psoriasis. And now I can see it now. At the time, I can see it and I can feel it. At the time, I just justify and rationalise the whole thing. Do you know what I mean? You're an alkie or whatever, you know, in my head. And he was ruined. Do you know what I mean? The whole time, like with my son, do you know what I mean? Now I'm clean. I sort of like really feel it around my son. I want to know what he's doing all the time. I'm worried about him. He's 25, he's a grown-ass man. Do you know what I mean? I'm always like worried.
Got your shit
but I
together,
didn't
no
see
doubt.
it. I didn't see it then. Do you know what I mean? I didn't see any of that. I didn't see that rippled effect. You know what I mean? Of what a partner. You know, I've relapsed in recovery, right? So Karen, do you know what I mean? I put her through it. Like she's seen it in recovery. You know, I was like 8 years clean and I went out the door. I went out another one. Huh?
How long did you go out for?
So I was out for 2 years around about, right?
Yeah.
But I wasn't out using for 2 years.
Right.
You know, within that, or 19 months or 20 months, I think it was. Within that 20 months, I reckon I used for about 3 weeks at the most.
Right.
Right.
So it was like, I'd have a go,
Mm.
I'd have a night, and then I wouldn't for a few weeks, and then I'd have another night, and I wouldn't for a few weeks, and then I'd have like 2 days, and then I wouldn't for a few months.
Any meetings in between?
Meetings. I could not shut that. I'm telling you now, right? Don't relapse.
Yeah.
It makes you feel sick, mate.
Mm.
Honestly, if I'd be sitting here for another 4 weeks explaining what was going on in my head.
Mm.
It opened up the gates
Mm.
of insanity.
Mhm.
It was nuts what was going on, and I couldn't shut the door on it.
Mm.
I couldn't shut the door on it. I was trying everything, and it wouldn't go. I remember actually speaking to Faye at a Honeypot Lane meeting in Basildon. Faith, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was outside the meeting, and bless her heart, she actually took time to speak to me, and I really thank her for it. And she turned around and said, "Are you done?" And I looked at her, and I went, "I don't know."
Mm.
And she went, "There's some honesty."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was weird. She like hit my honesty because I was going, "Yeah, I am going to stop. I ain't going to stop. I ain't going to stop." But when she
Yeah.
said that to me, I just thought, I don't know if I am.
No.
Anyway, I couldn't shut the door on it. It was insane. And every time, so what happened is like, so I was using, and when I used, mate, I was well out of hand.
Mm.
Well out of hand.
Yeah.
Like proper cuckoo.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Doing some mad things.
Yeah.
And it was just like there, ticking away, just thinking and trying to back the thoughts away, but then thinking about it and trying to back the thoughts away. And then all of a sudden, as I said earlier, I get into that obsession, bump, and I'd use again.
Game over.
I went in 2 treatment centres in that period.
Mm.
In that 19-month period, I did a month out in South Africa, and I did 3 months in London. Back in the treatment centre that I'd been in quite a few times before.
Wow.
And the guy said to me when I left, Lee, his name is, he's a great guy, brilliant therapist, this fella. He's an NA member as well. He'd been a manager of the place over in South London for years. And he turned around and said, "You need to shut the door on this."
Mm.
He said, "I watched someone go out at 28 years. He said that, was doing really, really well in life. He lost everything, smashed everything to pieces, and he couldn't shut the door on it."
Mm.
And it just kept ringing around in my head.
So
Just couldn't get it back.
you mentioned then, Nick, and like obviously the listeners can't see your face. It's just like basically imploring with people, do not relapse
Oh, man.
because of the pain. What led to it? Because you had 8 years of recovery.
So I'm still undoing this now,
Right.
right? But if I can say it short and sweet, because it wasn't a story of me thinking I wasn't an addict, thinking I could have another go.
Mm.
I was the lead therapist in a treatment centre, right? And I was at work, and it was in an afternoon, and someone did a step 1 in a group at the end of an afternoon, and I fed back to them, and I left work, and I went back to where I live, and every night I used to turn up after work, just before I got home, buy a cold can of Diet Coke,
Yep.
sit in my car and drink it before I went in, just to download the day's work, right? And this night I went in there, there's a woman in front of me. She was like messing about a little bit at the till. My head went, "Get out the way.
Mm.
Now."
Mm.
And she didn't. Took some time. Then she moved. And I slammed the Diet Coke on the counter, and I went, caught a bottle of Glen's vodka.
Wow. Just like that.
I snapped it and I downed it
Mm.
at the counter. And I stuck it on the counter, and she said, "Can you put it in the bin?" I said, "You put it in the bin."
Wow.
I walked outside, and I actually went.
Mm.
So I took a breath, which I make up must have been I was so tense and wound up and annoyed and resentful and everything else, right, that was a release. And as I blew it out, I knew I'd relapse.
Yeah.
For me, drinking that, I didn't know I was in relapse. Is when I walked outside the shop, so about 15 seconds after, or 30 seconds after, I knew I'd relapse, and then just hell broke loose in my head.
Yeah, I bet.
It was like absolutely dreadful. So anyway, I beat around the bush around why did I? I disappeared up my own arse.
Right.
And I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing.
Basically.
In the fact of the denial had hit me so much, I was feeling I'd lost my step one in respect of I didn't know how wound up I was, how tight I was, how stressed I was, how much in fear I was, you know what I mean? And I wasn't disclosing it. And in fact, my sponsor, he turned around to me like not so long ago and he said, I can remember you at work, because he, like my sponsor, I ended up working with him, right? And he said, I can remember at work me coming up and putting my hands on your shoulders, and he said you was like a block of like steel. He said
tense.
you were so tense.
Yeah.
Just fully running on self-will,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was hell.
Thanks for sharing that. And look, I think that's really important because, like you said, you had 8 years.
Yeah.
And you stopped doing the basics. You got wound up tight, and the alcohol or a substance became your solution again.
Yep.
And by the sounds of things, when you walked out of that shop and like breathed out, it was like, then you like almost relaxed, but then you knew you'd relapsed. And I know what it feels like, not to that extent. I had 100 days once, and I picked up and I looked at it. I'd made a decision. Session come on me, I've picked up like that.
Yeah.
And I looked at it for about 15 minutes. And I was like, I already made a decision. I knew I was going to do it. And I did it. And I was like, oh, you fucking idiot. Why have you done that? And it turned into a 2-year-long relapse.
Yeah,
I
man.
didn't pick up the next day, but I picked up the day after. And then I waited another day. And then by the end of the week, I was back on my full amount that I always end up on, which is an 1/8 every 2 days.
That's what you were trying to say, Nick. I think you might not get back. Do you know what I mean? We're lucky that you get back.
Exactly. Well done for getting back.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was gonna.
No.
I didn't think it was gonna shift, and it became wearing.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, it really did. I was attending meetings. It was. I felt so ashamed. It was unreal. Really, really ashamed.
I remember this period quite vividly, actually.
I started praying a lot. A lot. Yeah, and then one morning I was just praying. One morning. It lifted. It was so weird, man. I just prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed. I was out in the south of France, as it goes, and Karen was in the hotel, and I'd gone down onto the beach really early in the morning with my coffee. And I went back in and made her a coffee, and yeah, she had noticed it.
Really?
Yeah, something had changed. Yeah, it just lifted. And I thought to myself, I'm all right, I'm going to be all right.
Right.
But before that, it was just like, you're not all right. You're not all right. You're not all right.
And I know exactly how that feels. I really do. Yeah, I really do have like that internal fucking.
Yeah, I know both of them feelings we you're talking about. That I don't know if I'm going to be all right. And oh, fuck it, I think I'm going to be all right.
Yeah.
I've got it in treatment. I was about 3 weeks clean. And I was like, oh, I'm done. I couldn't get my head around it because I was like, surely I'm not done because I'm never done. And then it was like, I started getting honest and I started saying and doing things that were just like well out of what I would normally do. And I was like, oh, I think I'm actually becoming the person I was supposed to be. Funny enough, like I know you know my dad well. And you said you had that thing about
I love your dad.
Yeah.
I love your whole your family are amazing,
Thank
aren't
you,
they?
Nick.
The White family are absolutely amazing.
They'll love that.
Go on the whites.
Because
They
they
are.
think very highly of you, mate. You basically put us all back together, you know?
Anyway, it's crazy, isn't it? How mad I am, and
Yeah.
I can help
You're the one
others.
who
It's
fixes
like
us.
it's all, us three of us, isn't it? Right? We're all mad. If we gave our step ones right out to the world, yeah, right. So the whole of the world could actually read what you've read to your sponsor.
Yep.
Right, and we put it out there.
Yeah.
See,
What would people think?
Padded room job, that isn't it?
Yeah, Paddy Broom or SWAT team. Who knows? Well, look, just mentioning my dad, you were saying about how much it hurt your dad and that he got the brunt of it. Like, I know you, I mean, you know more than I do, I'm sure, because I know he confides in you. But I used to always, I was so dishonest because I didn't want to let him down. So I used to try and sort of skirt around the truth because I didn't want him to look down on me. I didn't want him to feel bad about his son, right? And he said to me, he was like, are you going to use again? And I was like, I don't know. I can't tell you that.
Mm.
Mhm.
I don't want to, but I can't say I'm never going to use again. And he was like, that's different. He was like, you always say, no, I'm not going to use again. I'm done with it.
Yeah.
And I started getting honest. I said to him, I don't know if I will. I really don't want to.
Mm.
And he was like, fucking hell. I think that's the first time you've been honest with me. And it's like his whole psyche around it shifted. And we've got such a good relationship today. We have. I'm like,
You met his dad?
No.
no, you ain't met him yet. He's just our relationship. It's almost like, so it used to be he would try and, oh, do you want to do this? Can we, you know what I mean? Trying to, now I'm like that with him. And he's a little bit like,
God, chill out.
too much, mate. You know what I mean? It's been like such a shift.
Beggy.
Yeah. I'm like the beggy son now. You know what I mean? Come and dad, play with me, one of them. But no, look, we got such a good relationship. And funny enough, my mum's rung me twice since we've been recording this podcast. And I was like, if she rings again, I'm going to have to pull.
Acne Sue.
Yeah.
God.
Hopefully she's not acne
You
Sue.
best ringer.
Hopefully she's not acne Sue.
Ah.
Like, we haven't mentioned this on the podcast. My mum, shout out Susie White, is the sweetest lady
Yeah.
you've ever met. She'll do anything for anyone.
If you cross her?
But do not piss her off. Because she goes very acne, very quick. All my mates are terrified of her.
I love that.
Back when we was kids.
Love that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant, man. And this is it. This is about the amends. You know, when Max like talks about his family and stuff and what he is like and how life's changed now, I wish sort of like everybody that are listening could look what's going on where we are. Do you know what I mean? From where we were, you know, like going missing for days and all that sort of stuff, turning up on time. Do you know what I mean? Trying to the best of our ability to sort of be there, be available. It's just amazing stuff. With that relapse that I had, it's the thing, right? If I do the basic things, I don't have to go back to basics. And what I had to do to get back was do the basic things. I had to grit my teeth. Do you know what I mean? You know, I had to get away all that like pride stuff, who I think I am
Yeah.
and what I've done and all that sort of stuff. And I just had to get really, really humble.
Yeah.
I did that for a sponsor. And I do this stuff like continuously now. Do you know what I mean? In fact, I mean, this is dodgy ground, right? But like the actual relapse helped me.
Mm.
Yeah.
I could have died.
Right.
That's the trouble with it. I see so many people die. I
Yeah.
work in treatment centres. I'm a therapist. I've got my own private practice. I do this stuff all the time. People die.
Mm.
Right? They have one and they die.
Yeah.
Right?
don't
And
come back
people
because they
have, some people don't die. They can't get back. I'm back.
Mm.
And the way that I got back and stayed back was I got humble. So I got really, really humble. I put my hands up again and said, I'm scared. I don't know what to do.
Mm.
And I just did the same stuff as I did before. You know, 90 meetings in 90 days. I shared every single meeting I went to. I'm as honest as I can be. When I go to meetings, I'm honest.
Mm.
Sometimes probably too honest. Probably sometimes I've actually shamed myself in meetings. You know what I mean? Like,
I think it can be someone.
through some stuff, right? But like 90 meetings in 90 days, I got service, right? I try and help other people. I had to wait a little bit. Do you know what I mean? But funny enough, like, I don't know, it's been like a bit of a benefit for me in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? People, I'm there for, but if you relapse, come see me, mate.
Yeah, lived experience.
Some people won't
Mm.
because they know what I'm going to say and don't want to do it, maybe. Do you know what I mean? But
basic text, relapse might be the jarring experience.
jarring
that
experience, right?
kicks you further into your recovery. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the same for me.
100%. My ears became more open. Do you know what I mean? I'm more in touch with step one.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like my thinking. So it's like the relapse has helped me.
Mm.
I felt so ashamed. I think there's a huge amount of shame in every addict out there. You know, it's that thing. The shame isn't in the relapse. The shame is in not coming back. Do you know what I mean? It's like, this is what we deal with. Like, a lot of people call it a fear-based illness. There's another school of thought that's a shame-based illness.
Yeah.
It's an illness. It's between my ear rolls. It ain't in a powder, a pill, or a potion. It ain't in that. It's in my head. I've got to live with it, and I've got to deal with it. Just like someone has to deal with like EUPD or schizophrenia.
Mm.
I have to deal with this. The lucky thing is dealing with this. You know what I mean? It's free.
Yeah.
It's like free.
The solution works.
And the solution works. You know what I mean? And the solution is in the 12 steps, 100%. The 12, you know, it's amazing, isn't it? If anyone's worked, like my two favourite steps are 6th and 7th step.
Mm. We're going to get into that in the next episode.
My hardest,
an episode coming soon.
yeah, the hardest step that ever worked was step 8. I know why step 8's hard. It's because I started walking in other people's shoes and started to understand what it was like for the families.
Yeah, it's painful.
I sat on my 8 for a while.
Yeah, you know, because you start seeing it, don't you? You start seeing how you know, many hours mum's been sitting there cooking dinner, worried, sick about you, or not being able to go to bed at night, or dad's worried, and brothers, sisters, aunties, uncles, the shopkeep, everyone's worried around us, isn't they? Really, the kids pick it up.
Yeah,
Kids pick up. They're the main men. So you're
great.
I'm grateful, man.
My boy was 18 months when I got clean.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's going to know.
Mine was 4. See, I don't think it's
And I'm so grateful for that because look, I've seen kids get dragged through this stuff with us, and it's painful to see. They haven't done anything wrong, have they? You know what I mean?
This is a big thing for anyone that's like listening. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it might help, but if anyone's listening and they're really struggling, right? So with children, it's weird, isn't it? Like, I'd stand in the bus in front of a bus for my son, but I couldn't stop using. Mad, innit?
Yeah,
it's just so crazy, right? But with kids, so there's like a little scenario, right? This isn't anything to do with addiction, but it's a little scenario. So there's a woman and a man married, and they've got 2 kids, and they send their kids off to their grandparents for the day. And while the kids are off having last time with their grandparents, the man and wife start arguing. Right, it's really, really heated, like a bad argument. And all of a sudden, the man looks at his watch and he says, "Look, we've got to stop. You know, the kids are going to be back in 10 minutes' time. We've got to stop rowing." So they stop rowing, and then the kids get out of the car, "Mummy, mummy, daddy, daddy," and jump up and give them kisses and all that sort of stuff. Grandparents go, and the kids are at home playing. And the mum and dad are not arguing anymore. And they're being really nice to the kids, or they're being normal to the kids, getting on with their tea and all that sort of stuff. Do the kids know that mum and dad had an argument?
I say yes.
100%.
Yeah, I'd say yeah.
When we're using, it ain't just like a little like man and wife argument, is it?
No.
I'm in it every single day, right? The kids know. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm not saying that'll stop people using, but it's like, this is like an introduction to the steps, isn't it? This is like, with the steps, you start to see the ripple of effect of addiction. I ain't perfect. You know what I mean? Karen will tell you that 100%. She thinks I'm a toddler. I don't know, your wife and like both your wives, I bet they thought the same, right? Yeah. Maybe still now, right? But I'm a lot better than I was when I was using. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I've got a few years clean again.
Yeah.
I have to remind her of that. Yeah, we've been going like an hour and 40. I love it.
Have we?
Yeah.
Have we?
Yeah.
You know,
I love it.
Flipping heck. It's gotten quick, isn't it?
If you didn't know.
Well, it's just been emotional, right?
Yeah.
I still feel a bit nervous.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's gone really deep. You know what I mean? It's comfortable. If everyone could see these 2 boys are sitting there, like Max has got his shorts on. They both got shorts on.
I don't think I've moved.
Just relaxed. So relaxed.
No, it's nice, man. This is what it's all about.
Yeah. So look, we're coming to the end of the time now, Nick. Thanks so much for coming in and being so honest. It's been great listening.
Yeah,
great
fantastic.
chatting to you. You got some great insights. Give us a little message for a newcomer that's struggling.
Yeah. So look, if you are struggling, anyone struggling out there, like, please, please, please believe me, Max, and Chris, that it is 100% possible to get clean. 100%. There's a reading in Narcotics Anonymous, and it says an addict, any addict, you know, it's like the literature doesn't tell any lies, does it at all?
No.
Yeah, any addict can lose the desire to use, or can get clean.
Stop using,
lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
you can get clean 100%. Do 90 meetings in 90 days. Come to NA. If you're shaking, if you're angry, if you're scared, if you're not, whatever, come to NA. Give yourself 90 days. Keep coming to meetings. You'll get clean and you will not think about using. I mean, what is that all about? I can even wake up in the morning without thinking about using. Like constant. And it just goes, you know what I mean? It just disappears. So give yourself a break. You're worth more than using, 100%. If you're in prison, whatever you've done, you're worth more than being out there smashing yourself to pieces. Come to NA. And hopefully I'll see you.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a big hug.
Make a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Nice one, man. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Look, it's a great message, mate, and it couldn't be more true. That promise is the only promise that our fellowship makes, and it's come true in my life. I stopped using. I lost the desire to use, and by going through the 12 steps and getting honest and open, I have found a new way to live, and it's ongoing. So, yeah, mate, nailed it. Thank you, Max.
Yeah, nice one, mate.
As always, mate. Been great tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Nick. We really appreciate you coming on. Peace.
Cheers.